Welcome to the OSSLT prep session on short responses, summaries, multiple choice, and graphic texts. Today's learning goals are to understand how to properly answer short response questions, to understand strategies for multiple choice questions and graphic texts, and finally to understand how to write a summary. Before we get started, just a reminder of the importance of inferencing. The number one skill you'll need on this test, as well as in most of your courses at high school, is the ability to infer things. To do this, you have to be able to observe the explicitly stated things in a text, as well as filling in the gaps of things that haven't been said. And to fill in those gaps, you use your background knowledge. Comics are great examples of texts that require you to have to inference all the time. Here we have a Far Side cartoon where you'll notice a scientist up at the chalkboard trying to figure out his equation. He is having some difficulty. E equals mc, and he can't figure out what the rest of the equation is until obviously his wife comes in and says, "Now that desk looks better, everything's squared away. Yes sir, squared away." So if you have a little background knowledge on science, you'll know that the equation is E equals mc squared, and that is probably Albert Einstein there by the looks of the hair and so on. So to truly understand the joke, you have to have that background knowledge. The success criteria for short responses are to answer questions in full sentences, use the question in your answer, give very specific details from the text to prove your answer. Here's an example of a short response question that you did last year on your practice test. It involved a short dialogue between two co-workers and the importance of workplace safety. The question, first question, was what is one character trait that describes Amy? Use specific details from the selection to support your answer. The answer that was given, and which would earn a 3 out of 3, gives very specific details. First of all, it answers the question by saying a trait that describes Amy is that she is very caring. When Joe came to her with a concern, she listened to him and cared to give him a solution. So there's some specific detail. And then further, in paragraph 4, she states to Joe, quote, "If you had obeyed her, you would have breathed in harmful fumes," end quote. This lets me know she cares about Joe's safety. So here you have a very specific detail quoted right from the text to prove the answer that she was caring. Be careful that you don't just say it happens in paragraph 4 and leave it at that. You must have the specific detail quoted or very specifically explained. Here's another question that was asked on the same selection. Why should everyone learn about workplace safety? Again, use specific details from the selection and your own ideas to support your answer. The answer that earned a 3 out of 3 here, I think everyone should learn about workplace safety because everyone deserves to know how to protect themselves. So there you've answered the question. And then it gives a very specific detail in paragraph 6. It states, quote, 42 young workers are harmed on the job every day just in Ontario. People need to know how to decrease that average. So once again, we've answered the question and we have that very specific detail to back it up. The success criteria for summaries is pretty easy if you use the Isaac sentence starters. So first of all, your first sentence, the I, intro the topic in 1 or 2 words. And you simply write the words this selection is about, and in 1 or 2 words you fill in the blank. S is for summarize, the main idea. That's the big picture of the whole paragraph, and you'll simply write the main idea is, and here you will fill in the blank with the main idea based on the topic you just mentioned in the previous sentence. E is for example. You'll state for example and simply copy one of the many examples that are in the paragraph to back up what you just said for the main idea. Finally, the C is conclude. Write the words in conclusion and fill in the blank with whatever you want that sums up the topic in general. Here's an example of a summary you did on the practice test. It had to do with naming Atlantic Basin hurricanes. This selection talked a lot about the different hurricanes that had hit and the problems that they had in naming them. So the question was, state the main idea of this selection and provide one specific detail from the selection that supports it. You'll notice they didn't use the word summarize. Sometimes they will, sometimes they'll just say state the main idea. Either way, use the Isaac formula and it'll be much easier for you. So first of all, this selection is about hurricanes in one word. The main idea is it's getting harder to name hurricanes. For example, hurricane activity has increased so much since 1995 that they're running out of names. They may need to use the Greek alphabet. So there is a very specific detail that backs up the difficulty of naming hurricanes. In conclusion, it's getting hard to name hurricanes. And that's all you need to do for the summary. Lastly is multiple choice and graphic text. On the test, all of the graphic text selection questions will be multiple choice. So just a reminder that for multiple choice, you need to read the question carefully and reread the part of the selection to which the question refers. If it says go back to paragraph 5 or look in a certain column or part of a chart, make sure you do that. Try to answer the question before you look at the answers, because then you'll already have something in mind. Next, eliminate the answers you know are wrong. And finally, read all of the options and choose the best one. This is important because sometimes there'll be a couple of answers that seem to be correct, and you need to pick the one that is the most correct. For graphic text particularly, make sure that you read the overall title of the graphic text, scan all of the headings, examine any illustrations, look for keywords in columns, symbols, and legends, then skim, read all of the content. And lastly, it's really important for this selection to look back and forth between the questions and the text as you do the test. And 9 times out of 10, you will find the answers there. You just have to look hard enough to find them. That's it for this session on multiple choice, graphic text, summaries, and short answers. If you have any other questions or want to do more practice work, just visit the literacy page on the school's website. Good luck.